All right, it looks like I'm live, just testing everything out here. So everybody commenting, I probably shouldn't have made this public, but I just wanted to make sure that everything worked. And August 1st, Saturday, August 1st is when the 200K live stream is taking place. But I'm making sure you can hear me and that everything is working on my live stream here. And as you can hear the echo, I'm pretty sure it is. But I thought I'd stay on for a little bit. It's kind of in the middle of the day. I'm testing it out. One of my employers has been generous enough to let me use their StreamYard account for this live stream. So I'm testing it out, working out the features here. Very boring. Oh my gosh, people are coming in. So this isn't the official live stream. It's just a test, but I thought we could talk for a little bit while we were doing all that. I'm going to have some friends coming over to join the stream and kind of reminisce and talk about the journey, all 15 years of my YouTube journey from 2011 to 2026. All this stuff is happening. Yes, Trainmaster 36 Productions, I am employed. I'm a videographer. I have my own videography LLC. I've been filming sporting events, weddings, geography, gaming software, shoe conventions, all sorts of things. It would be great if this was the only thing that paid the bills, but this is more of a passion project, and I do love it. Pacific Productions Official, thank you so much. That's very kind. But yeah, wow, people are really flying in here. I can stream for a little bit, but just to let everyone know, this is a test for the real stream that's going to be on August 2nd. So, or August 1st, August 1st. So, you know, whatever. Do I like Tintin? Hey there, Jacob. I love Tintin. I hope they make another movie with Peter Jackson, Spielberg, all those guys, because the first movie they did was really fun. I think everyone can hear me okay because people in the chat are responding to what I'm saying. So that's a good sign. Thank you, everybody. Banjowo24, thank you. That's very kind. Wow, look at this. Is Grunkle Stan canon to EE? Oh, so I should be using this feature more often. I can click on the comments and put them up on screen. This is why we're practicing. The real trained Titan. I would love if Grunkle Stan was canon to EE. That would be a great time. Let me see. I have high school tomorrow. Pray for me. It's July still. That's terrible. I wish you nothing but the very best in all things. Good luck. High school, you know, no one wants to peak then. I can tell you that much. So wow, so cool that people are popping in. This is great. Ginger Percy is amazing and hilarious. Bree is the best. I got to meet them at the Audrey Extravaganza last summer. One of my favorite lines in all of fan content is when they're telling the story of Percy's ghostly trick at the station. And when they say what the story is about, I forget what engine it is, but they say, it's the phantom raspberry blower of old London town. And that's probably the hardest I've laughed at a lot of things. Is Ivor the engine cannon? I bet Proteus could make Ivor an alter ego of some kind. That would be really fun. You guys are great. There's a lot of chatter already. Favorite Brio item? Oh, I'd have to say the Flying Scotsman. I had it since I was a kid. I would pretend that it was Henry's brother when I was playing with it, so I do a lot of Flying Kipper kind of playtime stuff with it. Very interesting question, Rails and Water. Is Tugs canon to enterprising engines? I have considered this and ideas and all sorts of things, like some portals and multiversal stuff that could happen. Also, you know, Proteus could definitely turn into a Tugs character. Might be very appropriate to feature Flying Scotsman Productions handiwork, kind of for our channel mascot here. Great time. But Tugs being canon to enterprising engines, I must tell you, I have thought of so many things that could have been done to do that, but I haven't committed to anything yet. It would be cool if like Puffa or somebody could come in. Oh my gosh. Smudger Railway Productions, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Oh, so I'm so sorry, Smudger Railway Productions. I don't know if I should first name drop you on here. I would love to see you then, but I won't be able to make the Edison show in August. I will be there in November, but I hope you have a great time, and thank you for your generous contribution. That's very nice of you. Favorite character to voice? ScionTube07. And if I mispronounce your username, please let me know. I might miss it, but thank you. And just to let new people in the chat come in, this is not the celebration stream. This is kind of me testing that it worked. And it did work, but I thought it could be fun to talk to everybody. Oh my gosh, Pink Friday Sodor, thank you. That is very kind of you. But yes, favorite character to voice. My favorite character to voice, I do enjoy Edward. And it's funny because when I think of like the fandom Edward, I do think of TARDIS Rescue, not just in his line delivery and understanding of the character, but he is a very wise person who I have turned to for advice and counsel on more than just Thomas-related things, but also just his outlook on life. He's very wise, very hardworking, and also very grounded. And I think that's very Edward. So I enjoy being Edward too, but I've noticed in recent performances, I make him more cranky and frustrated. And it almost seems like I'm kind of playing on the result of being so patient for so many years and things just not changing. So I do love Edward. I do like Arthur. Mike and Frank are fun, but I've noticed that getting into Frank's voice is getting a little tougher for me because I'm not a squeaky teenager anymore. I'm a 33-year-old man, and that is scary when that puts the 15 years of doing Thomas the Tank Engine YouTube into context. Oh, this is a great question. Toast and Waffle 658. Hope you're doing well. I gotta ask, what is the inspiration for the spa ending in the Cloud Factory? One thing I've noticed when you look at the analytics of your video in the YouTube Creator Studio is it tells you when exactly people watched your video the most, what they replayed, and when they went away. And usually people always leave for the credits. And it's true. The only thing keeping you in the credits these days is the post-credit scene after a Marvel movie. And that's something they did not just to keep you excited for the next project, but to also kind of help you stay and pay attention to all the contributions of the people that made that project. And I'd have to say I did the spa thing because I wanted to do something funny and memorable and kind of tied into the themes of the episode. Let's see here. My favorite episode from season 2. You know, it's funny when I dream of Thomas episodes, for some reason they always feel like season 2 episodes. It's never any other season. I dream in the season 2 style of Thomas the Tank Engine. I would say my favorite episode from season 2, I would have said Edward's exploit. I wrote a college essay on Edward's exploit, and I truly loved it. So that one's definitely up there. Ooh, very good question. Donald and Douglas has to be. I love that episode. They cram too much in it, but I think that's what makes it so entertaining and exciting. My favorite character in my series. Great question. Love it. I have grown very fond of Skarloey and Rhaenyra, not just for, well, definitely because of the performances from everyone that's played them, but also their relationship, how thoughtful and wise and hardworking they are, and also the distinctions between them. I could probably talk about Skarloey and Rhaenyra for a very long time. I do know Yamite. I believe I first met them at the Unlikely Fandom screening in New York, and I know that they're good friends with Sir Duke 95, and I've seen a lot of the projects they work on together. And I believe I participated in a project of Yami's. I think it was a review for a VHS tape, or 10 Years of Thomas. I remember there being some overlapping creatives on that one. And I liked how it turned out. I am a huge fan of the Buried Truck's work. I mean, that's not really a radical statement in this fandom. I think we're all very appreciative of Mike's creativity and everything he works on. I would say kind of the tie-in to Erna in Carson's work. is really interesting, and I've seen people want to adapt it. I hope this is the right one. I might be confusing it with another story, but great story set at the smelters. I feel like the Reverend himself would read something that Mike wrote and say, "Yeah, it's canon." Like I really appreciate Mike and all the consistency and the ambition behind it, but also working within parameters. I think the Buried Truck is a great writer at working in the parameters of everything. Guys, thank you so much for, this was just a test, but I'm having fun. So maybe I'll stream for a little longer than I thought. I have a haircut later today and another live stream that I have to do, but here we go. Oh, the question right in front of me. Let's look at that. What's my favorite Railway Series story? Very good question. I think it's always good to be fascinated, or it's likely you're fascinated with Railway Series stories and material that wasn't translated to the television series. I enjoy Duck and Dukes. I kind of like this season finale feel it has with tying in Sir Handel being a grump and kind of foreshadowing Duke being brought into the series in an unintentional way, and all of the engines celebrating in a new extension. And yeah, I do like Duck and Dukes. I forget what book it is exactly, but there's this short bit about Sir Handel revering Skarloey after everything that they've been through and all the learning experiences he had. And I think that is a much more satisfying conclusion of Sir Handel's story arc in the stories than him just kind of not learning his lesson. Because if you watch season 4, the ending of Sir Handel's story is getting owned in Steamroller, which is entertaining and funny. But I think getting that closure and hearing, oh my gosh, like I called Skarloey garbage my first day here. Now I see him as an idol and someone I can look up to. That's really great. And it's in the books. It's only for like a sentence or two, but they cram so much material in it that the Railway series is written for children, but the universe and the backstory and the work that went into it is very rich. Don't be intimidated by it. I think there's something really valuable there, that little gems and things that you might not expect that are just hidden in the small details. And it's not something that's like so complicated that it's inaccessible. So there's been a lot of good conversations about the Railway series lately, but don't think that it's inaccessible, but also don't think that there's nothing of value in there that the TV series doesn't have. There's lots of beautiful details and images and art and, things like that. Getting to hear from the book that Sir Handel looks up to Skarloey and thinks the world of him is a detail that I wish I had more in my head when I was writing and thinking about the characters. So guess the episode guide. Great question. You got me going for multiple minutes. Okay. So the new reboot, I want it to succeed. I want kids to like it. That's my top priority. I do not want it to succeed if it is using AI to market itself or create itself. I understand that Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse used AI tools to help with character modeling, not character creation, but just getting the rigs to work. And I understand that that is an ethical and streamlined use to make high quality, beautiful movies in a timely fashion, especially movies that go through so many alterations and changes throughout the process. Believe me, Spider-Verse, masterpieces, but they go through a lot of changes. But I hope that AI is not being used. There's been some times where people saw the packaging and were concerned, and it concerns me as an artist. I don't like how the faces look. That's just my honest opinion. But I do like Oliver and Scruffy's face. I think if more of the faces had more of a resemblance to the characters that they are representing, I felt like Oliver and Scruffy's kind of whole thing fit in that style. So yeah, I'm cautious. Once again, a complicated answer. I want it to succeed. I want Thomas to do well. I'd love if more people around the world saw the joy and mastery and just the beauty of the material and the beauty of the characters. But I hope it doesn't, I hope they're not using methods that I don't really want to see in an artistic space, because there's so much art in the fandom. I would hate if they were taking an easy way out that was disrespectful to the material. So I'd love if it did well. I'd love if it could succeed. And I'd love to be excited about new content and material again, new characters and how they're written. So I don't know enough to have a full opinion. These are just some of the things I've been kind of weary about. Great question. Ellis? I'm going to say Ellis. If I mispronounced it, let me know. My favorite TCC video, my answer has changed. Brother Bother, I'm very proud of. It did very well. But I have to say my appreciation for Night of the Diesels has only gotten better with age. It was a lot of work to make it, and the producer and Diesel D199 worked very hard to make it as good and cohesive as it was. And I truly think it's the best series we ever did. Everything came together. Diesel 10's redemption and heroism hit so hard. Working with Diesel, the scene that Roro filmed where the hit list falls down at the Diesel Works and he has to hide it from Sir Topham Hatt, that is one of the best scenes that were ever done for the TCC. So I'm going to have to say Night of the Diesels now. It grew on me, and major props to everyone on the team that made it as good as it was. I feel like everything truly came together in the best way for that one. Let's see. Lots of questions about this. I just want to let you all know that over the years, it's been more and more public that the TCC was highly stressful, fast-paced, and didn't always treat everyone well throughout the process. And I have to say that the TCC was a miracle, and I don't think it could ever happen again the way that it was done. People would have to be paid a lot more. They would have to be, it would have to be done less quickly, and it would need more people to do it to make the workflow experience better and more respectful to the creatives behind it. That's kind of like the double-edged sword where the TCC happened, and it's so nice to see more often now that people appreciated it and enjoyed it. That's fantastic. But the only reason it could happen was because it wasn't done in a way that I think should be repeated. I think it was too fast-paced. I think production was too intense, and I think more people should have been paid for their work. There were some actors in New York that were paid for their performances, but most of the voice cast was not paid. Thomas fans, a lot of them that I dealt with personally, and so did Joel Hunter, Geeb Machine, they were not compensated for their work. And I think the filmers deserve more money. I think the composers deserve more money. It was a great experience that I am so grateful for. I think it was a boot camp for me as a filmmaker. But I will say that it was a difficult experience that pushed me to my limits, and I think some of the limits of other people that worked on it. So to the people that enjoy it, don't feel guilty about enjoying it. It makes me happy that all that hard work entertained people. But also know, like, I don't think it could happen again the way that it did, and I think it only could have happened the way that it did because of all the shortcuts and things that were not done for the comfort and respect of the creatives behind it. And Mattel can't really be blamed for that. A middleman company was paid by Mattel to run the TCC. And I don't think it's right to blame Mattel for that. They paid for a show and they didn't know how it would be made. They just gave the studio the money to figure it out. So it's a little more complicated than that. If you want to blame Mattel for something, I would say blame them for like the Superstation and all that. This was a show to promote their product. And I think that's why there was more emphasis on the toys once they saw how successful and viewed the TCC was at its peak. And that's the best way that I can describe it. So Rasp J4W, thank you for your question. A TCC question I can never answer succinctly. I try to be fair and give all the variables. Young Tucker movie when? Let me tell you, there's a 45 draft of something sitting around, and it's all about Young Tucker. Do you think you will remaster season 1 episodes someday? Oh, it's Vincent. So let me tell you, I would like to do it, but I don't want to get too bogged down in it. I do want to make new things, but I have some scripts of remastered season 1 episodes. To tell you the truth, I think the season 1 episode that needs to be remastered the most is Rising to the Occasion, because I did not know how to control the exposure settings on the camera during Indian summer. So that's one that, with the lighting and how the lighting looks in that, could use some work on my end. Least favorite episode? I like the story of Rising to the Occasion, but I'm very unhappy with how I shot it. Breakdown Blues was the first episode that I had done that people close to me were very honest and said, I didn't like this episode. It just made me feel like you wrote about the new pack vehicles that you got. You just wanted to show them off. And I think the ending dialogue could have been better. I'm pretty hard on myself, but maybe Rising to the Occasion and Breakdown Blues, even though I am a big Butch fan. Let's see. How did your plans for self-fulfilling prophecy change over the years? When I was first going to do it, the 5 chapters were going to be in one movie, kind of like a Wes Anderson movie, like The Royal Tenenbaums or The Grand Budapest Hotel. Well, it was chapters within a movie. And then I was moving things around and the storyline became more ambitious. And I think it kept changing from there. It still cooks in my mind. It's not canceled or anything like that. But the idea to use Someday came from realizing that so much of this story circles around the Thin Controller's relationship, not just with his engines, but with his wife, and wanting to go into more detail about that. And since Someday is a wedding movie, you can imagine how that relates to the Thin Controller's second wife. Will there ever be an Enterprising Engine Season 4? I'm going to be more careful about doing Season 3 stuff until I kind of fix this gap in Season 2 with self-fulfilling prophecy chapters and maybe Season 0 stuff that explains things better. I do have some Season 3 scripts that I could work on. There's actually one that I wrote featuring Daisy and an actress that she recorded her lines about 5 or 6 years ago, and she's a lot more successful now than she was then. I think people would be pretty hyped to see this actress in an Enterprising Engines episode, and that's the reason I've been tempted to do that one. But Season 4, I want to hold off on. But if I did a Season 4, I have ideas for it. It would definitely be about the humanity of the engines and how far that goes. Yes. Oh, guys, thank you so much. This is a test stream before the real one on Saturday, but I'm glad to see everything's working, and seeing so many people hop on is beautiful. Put on Ice. Yes, I've pushed it back. Someday is a movie that will come before, and it will be about the Thin Controller's marriage to his second wife and a lot of other things going on. It's pretty dense. I wouldn't have pursued it to the degree that I did if I didn't believe in it, and a lot of incredible people like Flying Scotsman Productions, they made it possible, and it was really cool. So let me see here. Is there a problem, Mr. Oliver? How am I doing? I'm doing great, thank you. I'm kind of touched by how active this is. I've been streaming for another entity, and we're so grateful when a few people hop on and say things. So this is so cool to see you all popping in like this. Can I have a conversation about this with you guys? I have to tell you a story, and it features the Sudrick legend. And thank you, Pacific Productions official, for not only the tip, that's very thoughtful, but also this great question. When I was on YouTube one day in the 2010s, and I saw that someone had taken Waterworks with a Mighty Mac in their sink, and they basically took what I wrote and changed it to Mighty Mac, and they remade what I did using Mighty Mac. And I got angry about it. And I commented that the person should take that video down. And they did. And years later, I kind of regretted it, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I didn't create Thomas. I'm not Mattel. I'm making stories that are derivative too, even if they do have my own spin on it. So I actually wrote on a community post, does anyone remember the person that did this? And I found out it was the Sudrick legend when they were very young, someone who is a friend of mine now. And I apologize profusely, because imitation is a form of flattery. I should have been touched by that. But how that applies to adapting old episodes, I do like to be asked permission first. There's people that have done it that I've developed a friendship with, and I'm like, yeah, if you do it, just let me know how you're going to do it. And I guess I do prefer it if you adapt one of my episodes that they make their own sound design. I spend a lot of time on the sound design, and people just taking mine line for line feels like they're taking a shortcut. And that's just my preference. But depending on the person and if they're polite and respectful, I usually say yes. But when it comes to this, I know I need to be flattered that people take the time to remake fan work, but I also want to be respected in the process. That means a lot to me. Pacific Productions official, thank you for your question. That does mean a lot to me. Barry the Rescue Engine Scion is canon, and he's been hidden in a few episodes. He is the engine in season 3 that the Earl welcomes Paul the Mechanic to, like, I forget what episode post-credit scene it is, but one of the things that Richard Hatt accomplishes as like a up-and-coming controller is kind of pushing the Barry restoration forward. And we see a kind of a snapshot of him in Old Groaner 2. So short answer, yes. Who's Barry? Barry is a Railway series character that never came to be during the Christopher Audrey tenure. His book was canceled, and there's a lot of speculation about what the character would have been like, what kind of engine he would have been. I think we did find out that Christopher said he was going to be a tank engine, and for the longest time, the fandom thought he was a tender engine. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. I'm just going to wink at you. I'll wink at you. Yes. Why'd I say yes? I should have just winked. Yes. Let's see. Someone asked, who is Walter? Oh, I didn't hit the right question. Sorry. Since Mattel has discontinued Thomas Wooden Railway and has no plans to bring it back, what company do you think would be the best candidate for bringing it back? I would love if Brio did it, and I would also accept a sponsorship from Brio. I would review your products. I would do stuff. I would say you're great because you are great. I know you're doing more things with licensed material now. But yeah, Brio. Brio would be amazing. Tomy doing Wooden Railway would be great. Oh my goodness. Do you know that Matt is one of the least common names in the Thomas the Tank Engine community? That is so not true. Favorite TWR community member named Matt. Ooh, okay. I don't want to hurt 1,000 people's feelings, so I'm going to avoid that question. Oh, there's Flying Scotsman Productions, my co-director on Enterprising Engines Someday, pyrotechnic expert, carpenter, producer, does it all. It's been a privilege to work with him. Hope all's going well, man. Large and in charge? Yeah, you betcha. I just had a lot of turkey chili for lunch, so I do feel large and maybe in charge. Are there any Thomas characters from any era that you haven't yet adapted? Oh, hey there, Tori. Great to see you. Tori has helped a great deal with the art design and a lot of creative consultation for Someday. She's great. Fonts, like flowers, set design. She's terrific. But characters that I haven't yet adapted. Huh. Well, here's one. We have Ryan right here, and I've been dragging my feet in season 3 for how close we are to the Lost Treasure days, but this is an incredible, incredible Ryan custom from the Sodor Caterpillar. I did film a draft of a Ryan episode that I'm not sure I'm going to pursue. It was called The Life of Ryan, and it was about Ryan having a horrible day. One of the few scenes that were shot was Carlo Debris pointing a machine gun at his face. So I don't know if we're going to do that, but Ryan is definitely one of the characters I haven't yet adapted. And that might even include the Works Diesel too. So it has been great. There have been a lot of incredible customs that have been made for Enterprising Engines videos that you haven't even seen yet. And I'm so excited for you all to see. Great question, Tori. Thank you very much. What is the key ingredient to make the perfect bowl of salsa? You know, I got to tell you, onions are important. Not that I've made salsa myself before, but I feel like onions don't get a lot of credit. it's good to get a nice tomatoey onion on your chip. It's crucial. So I could be completely wrong about that, but that's what my instincts are telling me. Steam Engines United 3456 is so funny, and he's a great vlogger. So I highly recommend you guys check Julian out. He's got some great content. The dog tax. Nice to see you, Matt, but we all need you to pay the dog tax. I think I know what that means. Let me see what I can do. Zelda, come in. You want to be on the live stream? This is what I think the dog tax is. All right, Zelda, do you want to be on the stream? All right, Zelda, can you do it? There you go. There we go. I think I have to remove his comment to do that. Hide. All right, Zelda, do you want to be on the live stream? This is my dog, Zelda. She's a good girl, but unfortunately, she's very protective and doesn't like men. So any Thomas fans that have visited me know that she's very hard to befriend. But I will tell you that the only person in the fandom that she is allowed to pet her is Visionary Locomotive Works. And I think that has something to do with the fact that he's very good with horses. So she's a good friend, right? She's scratching herself. She does that all the time. But yeah, that's Zelda. She's a great guard dog. She likes being by my desk. Well, don't duck. I'm trying to put you on the live stream. Are you self-conscious? Okay. So she's a great dog. We love her. But there's a lot of men in the Thomas fandom, and I think that's why she doesn't like most of the Thomas fandom, unfortunately. She's a little camera shy, too. I guess Milk Tanker Media, the man, the myth, the legend. I see that was what the dog tax was. My instincts were correct. So Milk Tanker Media, you are the man. Thank you. XD Shadow 420, I have a haircut this evening, so the Zac Efron look will not be in the real live stream on Saturday, August 1st. So enjoy it while you can. I could even be Biebered at this point, but yeah, I think 2017 Zac Efron is a pretty scathingly accurate analysis of this haircut. Let me see here. Oh, so let me close the door just for sound purposes. For Greg and Lars, what made you decide to use those Lego Indiana Jones military lorries? I like them a lot. I had played with them a lot. I loved those Lego sets when they came out, and I liked that minifigures could drive them. I think from a directing standpoint, I could have done more with forced perspective so they weren't just so massively large compared to the engines. And now the fandom is at this custom making capacity where I think wooden railway ones could be used. I do want them to come back, but I want them to come back as how they originally appeared, but maybe try some more things with forced perspective that I never utilized when they were used in like the 2010s. I will say, though, that I do definitely want to use the Lego ones because I have some ideas in mind where I want human characters driving them because it's important who's driving them. But that is an excellent question. Thank you. What if Enterprising Engines was called Evil Prizing Engines? I've always thought about doing kind of the funny TWRC live action skit content. And one thing I thought of if there was like an evil doppelganger of me and what he would be like maybe a fandom member gives me a lesson on how to be more assertive, and then it goes completely haywire, and I become dark enterprising with like a leather jacket and greaser hair and sunshades, and I'm knocking over people's collections and stuff. But, you know, that's a little scary for me. I don't know if I want to do that. Do I know Amtrak? I'm more familiar with NJ Transit. It's a great place to people watch and also have beer cans rolling under the seat while you're in transit. But yeah, I don't think I've been on Amtrak before. I've only taken a few different services across the country, and never Acela either. I wish I did. Why is Proteus your most used character on this channel? In Enterprising Engines, Proteus is a ghost shapeshifter, and he was the engine that fell off of the Old Iron Bridge into the swamps below. and he kind of watches over everything, but we can kind of tell he has an especially keen interest in the thin controller's activities and the narrow gauge engines. So whatever he has planned, they're definitely a big part of it. I like Proteus because he has 3 seconds of screen time in the show, and he just piques so much of my curiosity and my imagination. So I like him. I like yellow characters. I kind of like the personality that the open book of his character kind of inspired. And he is a cornerstone. He is a Greek pillar of enterprising engines, despite having such a small role in the show. And if this channel has a mascot, it's probably him. So Steel Steam Co., thank you for your question. I hope that answered it pretty well. This is so funny. I actually saw that Thomas Wood Gordon just a few weeks ago. I didn't want the feng shui or presence of that Thomas Wood Gordon in my home, so I gave it to my younger siblings to play with. So when they set up their wooden trains at their home and I came to visit, I was reunited with the Thomas Wood Gordon that hit me square in the head this weekend. And just some advice, if you want to be my friend, don't throw wooden trains at my face, please. That would not be a good first impression. And a good friend of mine threw it for me to catch, and it hit me in the head. They did not mean to do that in that very silly video from the past. Let me see what other questions are here. Guys, thank you so much for the questions and all of your interest. This is great. And very appreciated. I haven't played Wonders of Sodor, but I've watched a lot of people, including Terrier55 Stepney, play it. He's very entertaining and fun to watch. But if there's anything I want added, definitely the Skarloey Railway, as much as they can put in, being able to pull passenger and slate trains and maybe even some gunpowder trains through the hills of Sodor would be a great time. And I would say, like, following the timetable and the railway rules will be an adjustment. I think we were all kind of hoping for a Grand Theft Auto style game where the railway is just running and you can either choose to be a productive part of it or a really troublesome engine. And maybe someday there will be a variant of that game, because when you play Wonders of Sodor, you have to follow the railway rules or you will be catapulted across the planet. That is the that is the impression that I got from watching the game. Tyne Senseth is a genius. Adam is so smart. He is such a thoughtful writer and a great composer. I had the privilege of getting to know him in college because we went to the same school, and found out right after Half Pariah came out that he was going to be a freshman at my college. And we got to hang out and become friends. And as the TCC happened, you know, we got to work on it together. So it was great to have someone in college that kind of had the same understanding and appreciation of Thomas, and just watching him grow was great. So talented, a real one, very thoughtful. He puts so much care and thought in what he does, and I think his appreciation for Toby has also taught me a great deal too. And we worked on the TCC together even after college. So don't know where I'd be without Tyne Senseth. He's brilliant, and I can see why so many people are so appreciative of his work. The Audrey Extravaganza was one of the highest points of my time in the Thomas fandom. The purple shirts that ran it, they put so much work into it. They were everywhere. They were a great team. They were so generous. They put so much thought into everything. The railway staff were wonderful. When a train was too full, Sodor's NWR Steamed helped me and my friend Thomas get a van ride. We got to ride in the guard's van on the train instead and get to know the guard and an assistant. And they were very kind too. It was such a joyful time. I think the worst part of it was driving in a rental on roads that I was not used to, on the opposite side of the road. I will admit, I think part of me is still clenched from how stressful that was. But it was a joyous experience. And if I got to talk to you then, to anyone that I got to talk to then, I really enjoyed it. People were very, very kind. Let's see. Will I be going to the Edison train show in August? I won't be able to make this one, unfortunately, but I will be going in November. I enjoy going to the shows. It's harder for people to display at the Edison show. Unfortunately, the spread that Thomas and his fans and the Northwestern modelers had at those events, and Ricky and Lewis of Thomas Tank Merch, they make more money when people sell things at Edison train shows. So they'd rather give the floor space to people who spend more money to sell than displays. It is still a great social event. It's still great to see what's there. But I have noticed over the years it's getting harder and harder for Thomas fans to get table space at the Edison train show. And I'm only bringing that up on stream because I don't think that should be the case. I think more people will pay for tickets if you get more floor space to do that. I don't think the Greenberg or the World's Greatest Hobby events are making a good call by pushing Thomas fans out. So it's still great to see people there and do things, though. But I am disappointed to see that they're kind of getting pushed away a little bit. There have been some beautiful Thomas fan displays, award-winning Thomas fan displays. I have seen so many Thomas displays win the award for the best display at these events. So you're adding value to it. And I know that Thomas fans can be a little rambunctious and passionate, but don't you think the toy train hobby could use a little bit of passion where things are headed right now? So that's just kind of my critique of the whole thing. I have really enjoyed myself at that show and made a lot of great friends through it. And I think, making that an avenue for Thomas fans to meet and show off their talent and creativity is so important. Oh man, you should have heard my very cautious and scathing weary concerns earlier. I do want to be excited, but I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm trying not to think about it too much. I hope it's successful. I hope that kids love it. And then my third priority is I hope I enjoy parts of it too. Because the first priority is if kids like it. Jax, the creator of Conrail Murdoch. There's a Conrail Murdoch in Wooden Railway. There's a Conrail Murdoch in HO. There's a Conrail Murdoch in Gauge 1. You are a genius. I will never get enough of Conrail Murdoch. Oh, this is a great question. French fries or onion rings? I like both, but onion rings. Wait, I meant to say French fries. I betrayed it. Oh, this is another good question. Have I ever met the Unlucky Tug? No, I haven't. Really smart guy. Incredible work. He deserves the following he has for the amount of care that he's put into everything he does. Just highly intelligent and really knows how to put a thoughtful and just a great team and video together. I'd love to meet him, but it hasn't happened yet. But I've been on like a Discord call or two with him, and I've gotten to talk to him in that way. This is my buddy Max. I met you at the Audrey Extravaganza, and we've been in correspondence. Max made a beautiful. Do I have it? I might have it here. Harwick Harbor made a custom old-style Proteus that I brought to the Strasbourg event this past weekend. It's Proteus in an old-style Sir Handel look. It was very generous of you to mail something like that from Ireland, especially with the way prices are internationally right now. Thankfully, that's no one in Power's fault. But Max, thank you very much. That was so generous. And Max has also done some research on some Enterprising Engines characters to help inform my writing, which was very grateful. You wrote a beautiful letter, Max. Thank you. That was very kind of you. So let's see. Hyped for the new reboot. Weary. I really want to enjoy it, but I think most of all, as long as it's being made with the power and strength of true artists, I'm happy. And if kids enjoy it, if kids enjoy it, Thomas might come back and there might be more to enjoy for older fans too if it reaches the demographic that they're aiming to reach. Let me see here. Since you like French fries, what is your favorite place to get them at? Oh, that is a great question. Sometimes crispy crinkle cut fries hit the spot. I also love Red Robin steak fries. There's a place called OMG Burger in New Jersey that also does really good crispy steak fries. Five Guys fries are great. But there's just something about McDonald's fries that really hit the spot too. But I'd have to say maybe Five Guys fries. But I really do love French fries. I'm rarely disappointed unless they're like greasy and wet. Then that's not very good. Wow, this is Red Robin's fries are so peak. Sometimes I try to click on a question and it gets pushed back. Oh my gosh. So sorry if I don't see your question. It's because there's 97 people here. That's amazing. Thank you for being here, everyone. I did mention Edward and Arthur before. I guess I will mention I do like playing Bertram. I did play Bertram in Thomas 1, Edward 2, Henry 3's The Search for Smudger. And I got to play him again with some altered dialogue and some improvements. It's funny, when I play Bertram, I watch a video of Will Ferrell playing a Mr. Clean parody in a Conan O'Brien video. And he's just completely insane and over the top in that. And admittedly, when I do Bertram, I think of that Will Ferrell performance to get me into character. I love Bertram's enthusiasm and also just use of the written word and language and Shakespearean stuff. So that's always a good time. Do you think we'll ever see the Raven in Enterprising? Oh, you know, that could be a good time. I think I would make it. I think I would make the Raven some weird, like, what's the word for it? Like a stonemason in the United States. Like one that, you know, not all stonemasons are weird, obviously, but maybe one similar to the Simpsons episode a little bit. And it would be like the Order of the Raven and a bunch of guys in a community center doing all kinds of kooky things and doing all kinds of conspiracy stuff. So not all stonemasons, but the Simpsons episode about them is pretty funny. Let's see what we got here. Is there a character you've wanted to portray yourself that you just haven't had the opportunity yet? Rusty's my favorite character. I think it would be fun to be Rusty in a series that is prolific and I can see kind of like development over multiple episodes. So I think I would enjoy playing Rusty in something that wasn't standalone, but something where the actions and consequences of previous stories play into my performance. And I would really love to do that. I would love to play Rusty. Yeah, definitely Rusty. But every time I'm offered to be in someone's series and they don't have an idea, I usually pick, they give me like a list of the characters. I try to pick like an obscure pack vehicle. And sometimes they give me that list and they're like, do you want to play anyone else? And I'm like, no, I'll play Patrick. And they have no plans for Patrick or Nelson or whatever. But then in the end of the conversation, it's like, I thought you would pick Edward, so just play Edward. But whenever they give me a list and say choose, as a joke to myself, I do kind of pick the most obscure pack vehicle just to see if they have plans for that pack vehicle. Dudley or Richard? I do love both. Richard kind of reminds me of Rebecca a little bit. And I do like Rebecca. The number one attribute of Rebecca is her brightness and her positivity. And there is kind of this warmth and innocence from Richard that reminds me of Rebecca a little bit. Dudley is so cool. I want to be respectful of that character because the Buried Truck put a lot of effort and I believe some personal experience into the development of his story arc and his behavior. He's a character that I would love to work with, but I also understand that I think he was created with very specific storylines in mind, and I definitely appreciate them for that. But I do love both. If I had to choose, though, I think I'd rather be friends with Richard, and I'd rather just be like a 9.5-foot pole away from Dudley because he's trouble. Let's see. Just going through the comments here. I've been like yapping like a hummingbird here. You guys have been so great. Thank you. Just for people just coming onto the stream, this is a test stream. It's not like the celebration for hitting 200,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a deep breath. I've been yapping so much. I guess that's good that there hasn't been too much blank space, but I need to namaste. Okay. Hashtag Molten Mike. We had to see it sooner or later. At Audrey5, people didn't even know I was there, but they were screaming Molten Mike because River Mike was there. And that was so cool. Oh my gosh, I have to make sure. Oh, oh, please forgive me. I'm a little, my brain is fried. But Joey, thank you so much. Joey is one of the founding members of Northwestern Modelers, and he and his team put on an incredible show at the Strasburg Railroad Museum over the weekend, and I had the privilege of displaying there. Joey, you worked so hard. You made sure everything worked perfectly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd be honored to be there again next year. And to everyone watching, it was a fantastic event. If you can make it out to Strasburg, Pennsylvania next summer, you will not be disappointed. The Northwestern Modelers put on an amazing show. Yeah, let's see. Oh, we have someone who was there. Yep. Can totally agree. I love the first Lego movie, but I was very inspired by a lot of great Lego stop motion movies in the past. And I have to tell you, there's one that I've been looking for that isn't on YouTube anymore, but it was a spy movie, and it was called The Clones. The Lego movie was called The Clones, and it was an old Lego stop motion about this spy that wakes up with his wife. There's Peanuts music playing, and he says he has a meeting in Honolulu that he has to leave for. She watches him drive away. And then we soon find out that he's actually a spy. And there's gunfights. They infiltrate this base. There's like a funny driver character. Please help me find this brick film, because it's like so important that I find it again. I have not seen it for 10 years and I can't find it anywhere. So if anyone knows where to find that video, please let me know. It was called The Clones Part 1, and I don't think there was ever a Part 2. And there was an amazing cliffhanger that I still remember it to this day. I probably haven't seen that video in 10 years. But when it comes to official Lego movies, the Lego movie, the first one, I have seen it over 15 times, and I saw it 5 times in theaters. I was very happy to see that Lego made such a great movie. So let's see what's going on in here. Who do you think is the most developed character? Ooh, okay. Very good question. One thing that I appreciated is I was talking about my season 1 with Mr. Conductor Fan 1406, Nikki, incredible creator, one of the brains behind the Magic Railroad parody, of course, and those videos. And he told me that from his perspective, he felt that Oliver was the main character of season 1, and it showed us how much he matured. Where in Lift Bridge, we kind of see him working with adversity. We see him be kind to Sydney and kind of argue to his peers to be more accepting and kinder and patient with him, because there's value that he doesn't see, or that they don't see in Sydney. Rising to the occasion, Duck is in trouble and Oliver rescues him. And you kind of see that it is Duck's branch line, but Oliver is not a liability falling into turntables anymore. He's someone that's pulling his weight and being a leader. And I think if I remastered season 1 episodes, I think I would lean into that more. I really appreciated that Nikki saw that season 1 was kind of about Oliver growing up. And I like that. Maybe he is the main character. I do think Skarloey is one of those developed characters too. Very developed. Edward, there's so much I want to do with Skarloey and Edward, because just the way they're presented in the show and the way I look at their model faces, I just see so much experience and conflict and caution in them, but also all of their great qualities too. And being able to show the events that they push through and go through has been a privilege. I love those characters very much. Ooh, this is a very interesting question. A marvelous mainland. With the username Enterprising Engine 93, does that imply the existence of 92 other Enterprising engines? That would be cool, but I don't know. I haven't met them all in an alley yet, and I hope we could all be friends. Because if there were like 93 of us, I would probably recruit them to help me film outside and help bring coolers of water to set. Because I don't drink enough water, and this is my time to say, homies, you got to drink more water. You'll feel better. Who had the weakest developed character arc in Enterprising Engines? Yeah, I think that's what you mean. I hope I'm not wrong. One thing I have to work on is Bill and Ben's. And part of the reason I think them teasing Donald and Douglas and causing all these horrible accidents in season 3 wasn't taken well is because it's in direct response to something happening in self-fulfilling prophecy that hasn't been produced yet. And I think there's some gaps there that I think would improve kind of how over the top those actions are. So I'm going to commit to it, obviously, but I think Bill and Ben definitely need a better character arc in Enterprising Engines. Let's see. Okay. Yes, you can have a shout out. Favorite Lego YouTuber. Ooh, that's a really good one. Favorite Lego YouTuber. Oh, someone that's like foundation is Pizza Movies and all those Clone Wars videos that he did. I used to watch so many Lego stop motions from Star Wars fans that just made huge armies and MS Paint lasers just destroy each other. And there was always funny little bits with the Gungans getting run over by speeder bikes and stuff. So I'm going to have to give a shout out to Pizza Movies. After he did Clone Wars stuff, he got really into one of the world wars and was starting to make historically accurate war stuff. Will Young Tucker appear in Avengers Doomsday? They have to give me and Tuckinator 15 $50,000 for that to happen. And no one's called either of us yet. He should probably get more than me, though, because he created the character. So let's see. How would you feel if your last name was Littlemore? I like Michaud. I think I'd be bummed out. What's your advice on being more open about your love for Thomas? The Unlikely Fandom, I go into a lot of detail on that in the footage that was selected from my interview with the Unlikely Fandom team. I would say practice what you preach. It's not something I said in the interview, but you can't just focus on other people understanding and being interested in what you're doing. You have to listen and be engaged with what they're passionate about too. And sometimes that helps. You might not be into knitting or underwater basket weaving or rollerblading, but if you listen to a friend who likes those things about their experiences and the things that give them joy, they might be more open to listen to you, even if they're not going to be interested in Thomas or trains. So I'd say treat others the way you want to be treated. If you want people to listen and understand what you love, be sure to return the favor and find ways to be supportive in the things that they love. As long as it's not like destroying crops or breaking windows or something detrimental. As long as it's a net positive for everybody. It does sound difficult. Oh my gosh. Will Spitzer find love? So funny how many characters are on my desk right now. Spitzer's got some work. We got rid of the studs that are exposed here, and a new face for Spitzer was created by Heisel Productions. Will Spitzer find love? Friendship at the very least, but love, we'll have to wait and see. Who's your favorite music artist from any decade? I love the Strokes. The Strokes are some of my favorite. They're one of my favorite bands. I did go through a huge Pokemon kick where I would listen to orchestral scores of Pokemon music, as you can probably hear from an era of my videos. And I do love the band Tennis. I saw them on Pier 17 rooftop last summer. It was one of their last tours ever. It was incredible. They're a husband and wife. They were both philosophy majors at a Colorado university and sailed the world together. And they sing so much great music and perform about their relationship and their travels and a lot of emotional stuff. They're fantastic. So I hope they come back in any form. I don't think they're coming back as Tennis, but it would be great to see them come back. Thoughts on Batman? I love the animated series. Big fan of that. Yeah, that's great. I wish I've been like going so fast. I might need to slow down a little bit. But I do enjoy the DC universe. I would say the Justice League, Adventures of Superman, My Adventures with Superman, Peacemaker. I'm supportive of James Gunn. I loved The Suicide Squad. That was great. I've rewatched it more than I ever thought I would. I just really enjoy how that movie's put together. Let me see what we got here. Dynamics I hope to develop more. Duncan and Rusty. Duncan in general. I'm working on a lot of stuff with Duncan. And while I think I already have done a few things, I think you're going to get a lot more depth from Duncan. That's important. Another one from Mainland. Thanks, Cam. Any specific point within your series should us fans focus on for hints of the future of enterprising engines? Swashbuckler. Swashbuckler, there's so many little gems in that. I will give you a hint when Roxanne, the Finn controller's wife, says, Duncan's my favorite. That is the biggest hint for future things. Who created the character Asbestos? So in Percy and Asbestos, that episode, I use a Big Jigs engine of Asbestos, and Turtles and Thomas customized the face for her. But it was funny. Everyone in college knew I had this toy train series. Some of them actually helped do voices for it. A friend of mine dared me to use the Asbestos train for an episode, and that's the whole reason I wrote it. It was a dare from a friend. Just like Mavis and the Tornado, where my friend Cassidy said, do a tornado one. So the character is a product from Big Jigs, but I created the character with the help of my buddy daring me, and then Turtles and Thomas coming up with the face design, which if you remember his old videos about Clam and Waffle, I think the face was very inspired by the character designs that he made for his own like animated show. So what else do we got here? What inspired The Man in the Hills? The Man in the Hills is from the hit era of Thomas, that whole rock formation there, but I was so fascinated with the enigma of it all that I wanted to include it too. So it's deeply entrenched in the lore of the island of Sodor. It's a very important part of the story of how a leader should be and how you should treat your flock. I just hit my desk. I am not in pain. I wish Edward and Gordon are brothers. They are kind of brothers. They're brothers from another builder. You know, I think that Gordon, I wish he wouldn't put Edward down so much because there's a lot of wisdom he could take from Edward. And I do forget who came up with this analogy, but there was a time where Edward pulled express trains, and then he was relegated to more of construction and smaller tasks before he was let out of the shed to do, you know, branch line work and stopping trains. And Gordon, he had a heyday, but there would be a time where he would be taken away from expresses too. History kind of repeats itself. And Edward was never unkind to Gordon about it, but I think if Gordon was kinder to Edward, he'd have a lot more advice on how to take that transition in stride. They have a great relationship. I don't like the bullying, but when they have their good moments together, I really like to see that, because one of Gordon's greatest strengths is his humility when it comes out. He can be a very gracious character, and it just takes him a while to get to that point. But that's what makes Gordon grand. It's his humility and grace. That's when he shines the best. Oh, so I wanted to answer this one. Hey there, Doom. My favorite season of Thomas is season 4. It is so beautiful. I am so at home in that season. I love I heard the narrow gauge stories, or I love the narrow gauge stories a lot. I love that the standard gauge engine stories they chose, all the characters that were introduced are so iconic. The world, the lighting, the warmth, the details put into the set, the music, they just hit a home run with it. There's some things they omitted from season 4 that were in the books. That's kind of a shame. And things are kind of told out of order. And there's some weird cameos of Rhaenyra and Duke when they're not supposed to be around. But despite the small imperfections, it is just so great. Season 4 is my favorite season by far. Let's see. My biggest weakness when it comes to making custom modelers is I really don't do it at all. I do make Lego models, That's kind of where my strength is. And I used to do a lot more with clay and painting in my younger, earlier days. And it did kind of serve the purpose, but it's not my strength. I'm getting better at using tools, but with paint, it just seeing the dexterity and skill of the people I've commissioned and enlisted to help me makes me feel like I should focus more on the directing and writing and give that to people like Arthur the LMS Engine and Ryatron 12, who are just so much more talented. And I just really appreciate their skilled hands and attention to detail. Will Mighty and Mac finish their divorce arc? I hope so. Two heads are better than one, and it's always better when they're working together. So I hope they can get over their beef. That's for sure. Oh, here's one from Drew. Hey there, Drew. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you grew out of Thomas? I once tried to, and it didn't work out for me. In 2022, I did almost close the book on all this. I was just feeling kind of low, and I tried some other things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Thomas, but Thomas has just been this space where I can write and express myself and connect and collaborate and imagine and be inspired. That I think there are other avenues where I could express myself in that way, but there's just never been anything quite like the Thomas community's creativity that puts me in that headspace and gives me that joy. So maybe it would be possible. I think if I leaned into acting in college, I might have gone away from that. But, I'm happy with where I'm at now. I truly am. I would love to see what more could unfold for the future. But no regrets right now. But I am looking forward to moving forward too. The work of Vince Gilligan and his team is incredible. I love the Breaking Bad universe. I have to say that I prefer Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad. I think I just like Jimmy McGill as a person and wanting to see that person return to Jimmy. And it's so well done. It's a little bit slower. It has a build up to kind of Breaking Bad's more like anticipation and action and all those things, but it's very well written. And the shot composition in Vince Gilligan's work just gets better and better and better with each project. I loved Pluribus. Pluribus was shot insanely well, and it's such a thought-provoking show. I can't believe how many concepts and genres they could shove into, I think, just 8 episodes. Such a masterpiece of a show. I'm a big Vince Gilligan fan, and I loved Breaking Bad. I loved Better Call Saul, and I'm so on board for Pluribus. Highly recommend it. I have been paid dozens of dollars to withhold this information, so I will not be revealing it. I believe in the integrity of the what is it, the Krusty Krab franchise. So I won't be, I'm no Plankton. So I just want to make that clear. Did you ever map out your locations early on in the series? Or locations just placed based on what the story called for? Great question. There were some rough maps, but I think in the future I would like to make a map with almost everything to show that there's some thought behind it. Because I think the Enterprising Engines universe, just seeing how many lakes and waterfalls are in the backgrounds of shots, that it's not really an accurate map. And I think as a joke, I said, in the Enterprising Engines world, the island of Sodor is 93 miles long instead of 67. So I think the island of Sodor and Enterprising Engines and this multiverse of fan content, everything's a little different. And I think it's a slightly larger island with more to offer and more tracks going by lakes and waterfalls, because that's where I like to set up my trains. So I can't deny those allegations. I think in the future it would be great to show a map so people could kind of pinpoint where the heck the characters are. I wanted to answer this question. What makes you film outside instead of inside sets? My first 3 episodes that I filmed were filmed inside on a white blanket in bad lighting in my bedroom. And I was so inspired by Thomas Wooden 123. and I wanted to replicate his fishing line puppeteering in his style, but that was kind of my rough start. Then I looked at the ledge of my patio with the bushes in the background, and I saw that it was just wide enough to set up some tracks. And I put up my camcorder on a bar stool, and the sunlight was so beautiful. And I was happy with how the footage looked. So after that, it was a no-brainer. It's like, I'm going to be outside under this shade of this tree and film in this beautiful sunlight. And it all just came together from there. Then I started venturing further, saying, oh, what if I did a shot in front of the lake? Oh, and what if I drove somewhere, pardon me, to do something? So I think it was just having God as my gaffer with the sunlight, having more space, not being limited to indoor space, and all of the possibilities. I am still learning how to film outside. I do not know all the techniques. Vincente 22 with the Bad Influence universe, check out that movie. It has not been watched enough. The things that he accomplished in his driveway and the position of the sun is fabulous. And I've learned a lot just by watching his process. Really great work. I am not the only person filming outside. There are people that are doing fantastic stuff with the style. Yes, I lost a Lionel light. I lost a slate truck that broke and a barrel loader barrel. And I'm blessed to say that is all I have lost. I finally get to tell this story. All right. I was recently in Puerto Rico on a work trip, which was awesome. And my boss let me bring trains on the trip to film with. And I had some time to film for Enterprising Engines. There will be some Enterprising Engines episodes in Puerto Rico. And this is the original Enterprising Engines Proteus. And I was filming with him in front of a castle. And the wind blew through with all this stuff. And when the wind blew through, Proteus flew off the side of the castle wall and was just gone. It was just jagged rocks below me. And I'm like, oh my God, I lost the Proteus. It's over. And then I felt weight in my fingers, and I realized he was still attached to the fishing line, even though he had blown over the wall. So I literally yo-yoed Proteus from the wall and back into my hand like that. And I didn't lose him because I basically yo-yoed him back. So I came very close to losing Proteus, but I mostly just lost like broken pieces and set dressing through it. Is this you, Spencer? Spencer, thank you kindly. In the past, you've sent me some, like a nice tip for breadsticks. That was very kind of you. Thank you. What non-Thomas things do you take inspiration from when coming up with ideas? It is so good to watch all kinds of shows besides Thomas, especially if you want fresh inspiration. I think one of the biggest inspirations for my series is the Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law Sherlock Holmes movies. I think the Thin Controller and Vanguard are very inspired by Sherlock Holmes and Watson in those movies. And as time went forward, I realized like, oh, the action, the music, Discombobulate, Hans Zimmer, the dreariness of the world, the teamwork, kind of like the tension between those two, highly inspirational. And I think there would not be a Sir Frederick Aura if there was not a Ron Perlman, Slade Wilson in the original Teen Titans. I loved that show. I got so into it. I wish that it went on for longer. I got so invested in those characters, but one of the most compelling parts is the voice performance of Ron Perlman in Teen Titans. I do love Twin Peaks. I think there's a lot of Proteus nonsense inspired by the mind of David Lynch and not Robert Frost, Mark Frost. Yeah, it's Mark Frost, not Robert Frost. I love Twin Peaks. It's my favorite show. It's not for everybody. It is so kooky and warm and weird and frightening and traumatizing, but it is a fantastic show, and there will never be another one like it. Let's see. I used to draw a lot more. I used to be the kid that drew in class, and I was known for that. And I just don't draw the way that I used to. I was never very good. But I took one art class in high school, and the teacher was very supportive of my sketches, even though I didn't feel like I was the best artist by any means, but I used to draw a lot. Did I show other people? Yes. In 5th grade, I was notorious for drawing comics in school and reading them to my classmates. My teacher, Mrs. Morales, was so supportive of me. She was one of my best teachers. Maybe not necessarily for the subjects we taught, but just supporting me as a person. Yeah, I loved that class. 5th grade was a good year to be Matt. When will Not Dennis the movie be released? You think this is a joke, but Not Dennis the movie is technically chapter 3 of Self-Fulfilling Prophecy, which at one point was not a chapter of Self-Fulfilling Prophecy. It was a separate project, as Kyrie knows. So yeah, after Nowhere, it's chapter 3, but Not Dennis the movie is most certainly in the cards. And you had an excellent performance, and I'm sorry we have to go back and revisit it, but don't you worry. That is still a major part of the storyline. What is your... Oh, this is a good question. Oh, sorry, I went back. This isn't the question I wanted to answer. I missed it by a minute. This was funny. People were asking me this in Strasbourg over the weekend. Goliath will return. I kind of would like to remake Bon Voyage, but I would like to make a new model of Goliath, maybe 2 versions, one that can split and sink, and then one that can float. And I wouldn't use the same Lego boat that I had used, but I realized it was a good choice of boat because you could cut the hole down the middle and have it sink. So that's probably why I chose that Harry Potter boat from like 2004. But I would love for Goliath to return in any shape or form, whether it's prequel stuff or maybe what happened after he sunk. And that's all I'm going to say. Do you exist? Because I sure don't. Andrew, you do exist, and you are important. And I hope that you find joy in trains and in life, because I do exist, and it's okay to exist. If you need to take up some space and show the world you love trains, then go for it. Ooh, the Sudrick Legend, who was mentioned on this stream already for their Mighty Mac Waterworks remake in the sink. Much love to you, Ray. When will Patriot be forced to confront the Swans? They would be a fearsome foe. I'm not sure if I have the cojones to bring swans into enterprising engines. They are hateful and despicable creatures bent on the destruction of mankind. So that would kind of worry me a little bit. Oh, another question. Yes, I can't read them all. I apologize. When I do the real stream on August 1st, I'm going to have help looking at the chat. So if I miss a good question, people will be able to help me read it. I'm flying solo right now. Here's Max again. What is your favorite line in enterprising engines? Oh, Max knew that that was the question that I kept trying to click. Thank you, Max. A humorous one. The Kipper runs again delivery of, I believe you were tripping balls or something like that, was so wild. He almost didn't want to record it, but he did. And he was willing to record for me after I wrote that line. So that is pretty legendary. I wrote tripping balls into a Thomas episode. If you want to see it for real or see the proof, type in James goes on a trip. You will be disappointed. But a sincere one, a sincere line, I want to make sure I put some good thought into that. There's something about Chivalry is Dead where Bertram and Rusty talk to each other, where I don't think I could isolate it to a single line, but Bertram is a bit over the top and crazy, but he is an excellent judge of character. And the reason he's kind of glommed onto Rusty is because he sees so much virtue and chivalry in the little Diesel that is not incorrect. So I love that mutual respect that they have. And I love that even though Rusty hit a breaking point, the little Diesel found a way to be kind to Bertram and be a good friend. The Thin Controller, Robert Brangwood, there's so much that he says and does too. He's such a dignified, charming person. and it's fun to give him not just kind of warm things to say, but also kind of him being befuddled in all the adventures that he gets thrust into. Whatever happened to Greg and Lars? They were put on hold for a while, but they're definitely coming back, and they'll be coming back with their new faces and their Lego iterations. Oh, it's Smurfy Dan. Only as a viewer, what is your favorite part in steaming to Legacy and why? I think I like the construction. It's one thing to find all the information and write the script, but then finding all these articles, whether they're newspaper articles or web articles, and also footage from the episodes to go with it. I really appreciate the construction and how there's always something on screen that is entertaining and interesting, and also adding camera movements to that information as a way that an editor can also make the material more engaging. As a documentary, creator, Dan, I think you've done a great job with that. Geez. What is a LARPer? Like LARPing is in like live action role playing at like Civil War events or the Renaissance fairs. Is that the LARPer? Or is there like a new meaning of this word? Not to sound like the 33-year-old that I am. Oh, Joey's back. If you were to own a Gauge 1 replica of anything, even show or canon items, what would it be? Madge. I think it would be really cool to have Madge. Because then you could display Madge, but then also display something on her cargo bed. That could be really fun. Oh, so LARPer. Thank you, Joey, for answering that. Is LARPer a fake fan, pretending to be a fan these days? If you're asking me if I'm a LARPer, I can see how you can be accused of that if you don't know something about a topic, but someone asks you a question and you want to kind of show what you do know. But I guess the worst kind of LARPer is someone who claims to be a big fan but knows nothing about it, as opposed to someone who's just trying to say something positive that they know. So I guess I'll try not to be a LARPer and claim to be a fan of something I'm not. I'll definitely try not to do that. That makes a lot of sense to me. What do I think of the merch? This has come up a few times. I do not like the faces on the merch. I hope they look better in the show, but I will say I like Scruffy and Oliver's faces the most. I think they translated to the new format the best. And I'm a little bit baffled with James and Edward. I don't like Thomas, but James doesn't look like James. And he's a character that even his CGI face took inspiration from what came before. And it's not like I mind that Edward has this like chin definition, but if you make Edward a tough guy, Chad looking character, it doesn't fit what came before. Like the appearance kind of matters. Either they're going to completely redo the character and make Edward something totally different or what, but Edward is a passive character. That's probably one of his flaws, is he's too passive when things go wrong or characters mistreat him. And when I look at this kind of like comically Chad chin definition, I just don't see that character in that toy. But it is a toy. We don't know what the show will be like. Hopefully Edward's in the show and written well. That would be great. I think, guys, we've been streaming for an hour and a half. I think I'll try to go for 2 hours, but if I get tired, I'll probably stop it at that mark. But this was just a test for the big stream this weekend. Thank you so much, everyone that's tuning in and asking all these questions. This is great. I think we're going to have a lot of fun this weekend. Oh, look, it's the Proteus guy. Listen, I am not the Proteus guy, okay? I don't know why you would say that. I don't know why anyone would ever say I was the Proteus guy. It's not like I have multiple Proteuses just on hand at my computer desk like a crazy person. I mean, I don't know why you would say that I am the Proteus guy. That is absolutely ridiculous. And frankly, I am offended that you would call me the Proteus guy. Do you think I'm some kind of nut job that just has memorabilia of like a 3-second hit era character just lying around like that. Stepney 11, I am shocked and appalled that you would make such a flagrant, accusation at me. And I demand a strongly worded letter of apology to me and Learning Curve in their Chicago location. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to calm down. I need to calm down. I apologize. I got a little heated there. I'm going to take a deep breath. Is Proteus your phone lock screen? Oh, I'll show you it. Let me see. I might have it lying around. I just spilled business cards everywhere. My phone lock screen is actually my business card that I show at events. So you'll see the narrow gauge engines all lined up here. But funnily enough, Proteus is not on the current business card, but I've almost given out all of them. I had a box of 500 that were bought for it. So I want to design a new one. I'll probably get the Blue Snowplows expertise on the next business card. They've helped with my most recent one. And as you can see, I love it. I love kind of like the anime pose of the stack of characters all doing different stuff. So this is my lock screen on my phone as well. I love it. Favorite food? Ooh, I got to tell you, I couldn't eat it every week or every day. But I love chicken tikka marsala with garlic naan. And I love the drunken noodle, the pad ki mao from a Thai restaurant near me. These are just foods that if I'm in a bad mood or I'm really hungry, they put me right on track. They're great. They're kind of like the most basic things to get at those restaurants, but they're definitely comfort food. So chicken tikka masala, garlic naan, and the drunken noodle pad ki mao. Enterprising desk reveal when? I have a Mac Studio, so I don't feel comfortable picking it up and showing the desk. And I think I won't be streaming from my bedroom when I do the stream this weekend. But I will tell you, as you're probably noticing, there's definitely some goofy things on the desk. I can't lie that, I haven't even used all of the props that could be used from my very silly desk. So there's a lot going on there. Thoughts on Blaine's models? You guys need to watch Blaine. Blaine makes so many clever, funny things that have a lot of thought put into them. And if you're looking for comedic fan content, you have to keep up to date on Blaine, and not just the Joe Swanson video, which is hysterical. But his recent video about Boko and Steven was also hysterical and used a really good voice cast. So keep an eye out for Blaine's models. I really enjoyed the most recent video. Hey there, Eli. Thank you so much. Puerto Rico was great. We did film for Enterprising Engines while I was in Puerto Rico, and we got some beautiful stuff. And I would love to go back, but if I did, I would have to plan to adapt to the weather because the weather was very unpredictable, and I almost lost Proteus over the side. Marlon Malin. So if you watch the credits for Tobias and the Half Pariah, I am not credited, but Marlon Malin is. And that was a very silly attempt to protect what my name was at that time. Up to that point, I never revealed my face or my full name on YouTube. And Marlon Malin was a name I made up in a minute to hide my identity because I wasn't yet comfortable with talking about myself online or showing my face. That's out the door now. But it is important to be cautious in your online relationships. And if you're not comfortable, it's completely right to do so, especially waiting until you're older. If you dress up as Ash, you can say, Proteus, I choose you. Oh, yes. My favorite Pokemon protagonist is Gold, though. I would love to be Gold from Crystal version. That's my favorite Pokemon protagonist. Let's see. Oh, Marlon Malin wasn't even a real person. I just made it up. I like the name Marlon. And Malin, that's just nonsense gibberish. It's funny when Adam teases me about that. Like, why was that the name? Why not like Steve or something? I liked alliteration. Marlon Malin, they would have definitely found the alliterative equivalent to that. Let's see. I have never lost an engine. I have lost a slate truck, and I almost lost Proteus over a castle wall at the Castillo San Felipe. I always forget the name. I did forget the name of the castle. It's Castillo San Felipe del Moro, I believe. The wind blew Proteus over the castle wall, and I had to yo-yo him back with the wire in my hand. That was the closest I came to losing a precious fella. I do watch Tugs, and I do enjoy it. I would have loved if that show could have gone on and developed further. I love the writing. I love the format of the show. I think I would have loved to have grown up with Tugs and the darker storylines and the more dialogue-driven model series set pieces that it set out to create. And I think the stories would have been very, very interesting. But yeah, I do watch Tugs. I like it, but I definitely like Thomas more. Oh, good. It took me a few minutes or a few seconds to remember the name, but yes, the Castillo San Felipe del Moro Fort, that is where I filmed a few scenes of Enterprising Engines, and I'm very excited for you to see them. They look really cool. The hardest video to work on is Enterprising Engines Someday. Hardest. But it has also had some of the most joyful moments of collaboration. It has brought a lot of my friends together. I've gotten to get to know some good friends working on it. People have been very generous. We filmed about half of it so far, but there are still some ambitious set pieces and new things I have to learn for the project to be complete. But I'm very impressed with what we got already, and we still have plans to work on it this summer. We're not done yet, so I'm very excited. Another one from Max. Oh, Max is about to leave, but thank you so much for stopping by, man. Before I head off, a lot of your dialogue has a very poetic quality to it. Are there any poets, writers, or educators in your life that inspired those qualities? I have two, and I'll pull them from my shelf. Just give me a second. This guy will entertain you until I find my book. Shoot, where is it? See, this is entertaining, right? This will do it. Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. We're close. Just give me a second. I just dropped something. Great. All right. Hope you're not hearing crazy noises. Unfortunately, both of these authors have some controversy surrounding them that I don't remember. But I can't lie, they have been a huge part of my development as a writer. One of these poets is Sherman Alexie. He's a Native American writer from the Pacific Northwest of the United States. He writes about love. He writes about childhood. He writes about adulthood. He writes about tragedy. He writes about poverty. He is a great writer with an excellent sense of humor. The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian was a book that I read in middle school, and it's a very well-written book. I think it's a great book for a young man learning about the world. And Blasphemy, this was given to me by a college professor, and there's a lot of short stories in here that are much more adult, but very well written. And I think I was very inspired by Sherman Alexie. There might be some controversy around this author, and forgive me if I'm not aware of it. The same goes for Brian Handler or Daniel Handler, also going by Lemony Snicket. I think a series of unfortunate events books kind of prepared me for the current political climate of the United States. I love these books so much. There is great humor and wordplay and just life advice, and also just the writing and the construction of sentences in a series of unfortunate events is so well done, but they are very grim, sometimes not very cathartic stories. You're very concerned for the well-being of the Baudelaire orphans. And I love those books very much. That is very kind of you to say that something I've written has a poetic quality, because the poetic qualities of Sherman Alexie's writing and Lemony Snicket definitely had a big impact on me growing up, especially as a middle schooler and young adult. So I hope that answers your question, Max. I would highly recommend them. And I did love newspaper comics, including Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts. I cannot deny the fact how much the newspaper comics, The Far Side too, by Gary Larson, Gary Larson inspired Gregory Larson because of the documentary quality of his comic. Like, if you see how I tweet, I kind of tweet like it's a snapshot of a documentary. That is so inspired by The Far Side and Gary Larson. And Gregory Larson was inspired by the eerie scientific nature of his cartoons. Oh, I can tell this is a great question, even though I'm flying through it. Flying. You mentioned some days about the thin controller and his second wife. Is that Roxanne, or has something gone very wrong very quickly since we last saw them? Or is there a first wife we haven't met? Very good question. Very good question. There'll be a lot more for me to explain, but Roxanne is the second wife, and the first wife is a woman that you haven't met yet in Enterprising Engines. And we're going to have to see who it is. But Roxanne is the second marriage. They were married in 2003. And then 8 years later, Oliver falls off the lift bridge and season 1 begins. So I hope that's an acceptable answer to that question. What timeline do you think Thomas and Friends are an Enterprising Engine? I would say I try to honor what happens in the model and CGI era as much as I possibly can. But as I get older, the disrespect to Scarlowi and Rhaeus' characters in the hit era is simply unforgivable. So I might be making some deviations from what was presented in those stories. As much as I love that the narrow gauge engines were in so much of the hit era, the disrespect to Scarlowi and Rhaeus is unforgivable, and I'm not compromising in that in any way. It doesn't mean that I could find ways to rewrite and present those concepts in a different way, but Michael Brandon's nasally voices for them and the writing just crush me. I can't pretend it doesn't hurt to watch. Oh my gosh. If you had to blow up a character, who would it be? Well, all I have to say is I have done horrible things to Slate trucks the past year and a half. It's not even a hypothetical. You're just gonna have to wait and see. I might have to make an episode apologizing to Slate trucks because, oh my gosh, they have gone through the ringer. The ringer. This is a really good question. I hope I didn't miss it. If you could change one thing about your channel, what would it be and why? What I would change is, from the beginning, every title would have Thomas in the title, and then Thomas wouldn't be in it. So every episode of Enterprising Engines would be Thomas and this, or Thomas and the Mermaids, or Thomas and the Velociraptor. And it would be Chivalry is Dead or Lift Bridge or something. And the running gag would be every title would have Thomas's name in it, but then Thomas wouldn't be in it. Of course, then I couldn't do Thomas and the Fortune Teller or E2 Brute, but I would have loved if I had thought of that earlier and made that a running gag in the videos, that Thomas doesn't appear, but his name is in every title, like the Pack series episodes. So there's all of that. Oh, I have to make a recommendation. I have not watched it yet, but there's a new 2-hour movie about Trackmaster Dennis called Dawn of the Dennis, and I highly recommend you all watch it. I've seen some clips of it, and there's an incredible forest fire sequence in it. I highly recommend you watch it. I've been hearing people rave about this. It's not what you expect. Please watch Dawn of the Dennis, give it your time. So much work went into it, and I'm really impressed with what this creator has done. I have considered Dudley with a twist, but I wouldn't want to make a twist to it and disrespect Mike's vision for the character. So I have to be very sensitive about that. One of the best comments ever put on a video was on Soderfan 2K10's video, where someone just said, make an episode called Salty Life. And then he did it, which was great. So it's great to bring that back. Either I forget the series. I don't think I've seen Engines of 8. Who makes Engines of 8? I might need to get caught up. Simon! Simon's here. Simon, you should make an episode about Salty Life. Oh, wait. He already did. So beat me to the punch on that one. Simon is amazing, guys. He's played Skarloey since he auditioned for Skarloey in like 2013. And there's no one else I want playing Skarloey in Enterprising Engines. In many key projects, Simon has helped me work on Skarloey's dialogue and has been a great confidant in that way. And it was a pleasure to see him again at the Audrey extravaganza. We got to do some exploring too, which was great. Real one right here. So, I need to take a deep breath. I can't believe how fast I've been going here. So let's see, next question. What would Sir Frederick Ora's next scheme would be in the next part of Enterprising Engines? It's still the same scheme, not the Thin Controller. Sir Frederick Ora is a vindictive person, and his plan surrounds revenge for a time he was wronged earlier in his life. And his plan is coming together, but he's a very patient, enigmatic person, and nowhere is about the plan sort of escalating, but also there might be some loose ends in his scheme that he did not account for. So it's definitely about that too. How many people do you think you have worked with? 600, but maybe more, if you count voice actors. It's incredible how many people have contributed, and I wish I did credits earlier on so I could better tally up the people. But 600. I love collaboration. It definitely has its pros and cons, but seeing the sum of all of its parts lead to an enjoyable final product is something that you can't trade for anything. And I am so grateful for the contributions and creativity of all the people that make every project shine just a bit brighter, or much brighter. So that's been a joy. I would estimate 600, but I wonder if one day I should go back and actually count, even in episodes where I have to kind of go through them line by line and remember if someone was helping me in the background or voicing a character. Very good question. Enterprising Engines could not be filmed in Gauge 1. Could not. I think you would actually need $1 billion to do that. But if I had to change, Lego, because then the Lego, it could be built in minifig scale, and the Lego people could be in the cabs, they could be in the coaches, they could be in the stations, doing all these things. So Lego seems like the most logical choice, but it would be expensive for sure. But I do love Wooden Railway, and I have no plans to not film with Wooden Railway, even if there is no official Wooden Railway line anymore. Custom makers are making it possible to enjoy Wooden Railway in all of its forms without there necessarily being something new on the shelf that I can buy. There's some incredible customs out there. I changed my profile picture because I wanted to refresh it. The original profile picture was taken of a small scale Proteus, and then a lovely gift from friends of mine last year. I got a large scale one. So it made sense to use a large scale close-up model for the profile picture. And for the longest time, my banner photo was a picture on my patio of the engines at Knapford Sheds. And I wanted to change that for years. The Old Iron Bridge in my channel is so much better. So thank you to the Blue Snowplow for helping to spruce those up and make them as good as they were, because that was an overhaul that I desperately needed. The first time I voiced in someone else's content. That is a great question. I don't think Caleb Train is the answer, but Caleb Train had to have been one of the early ones. Watching Caleb Train glow up. Caleb was always awesome with the weathering and the model stuff he did and the music choices and the scenery. But I got to see Caleb from the beginning to now, where he is a freaking force of nature. And even when he was young and he first contacted me, he was so polite. It was yes before I finished reading the YouTube message. I do not think Caleb was the first, but he's the first that I remember. And it was because of how polite and kind he was. Which Thomases arrived would you like? He arrived with before or after Edward? Sorry. Are you asking that would I prefer if Thomas arrived before Edward or after Edward? Yeah, the lore is sometimes confusing because Edward's the wise one, but if you look at the dates, like you'll find details where Bill and Ben were on Sodor longer than Toby, or just as long as Toby, like things you would not expect. And I think the books tell you that Thomas was on Sodor longer than Edward, if you look at the expanded source material, which is also, wait till people see this desk. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it makes sense for Thomas to come in after Edward, but I think the books say he arrived before, and we just kind of have to write around it somehow. Some of the expanded materials make things more confusing than less. I do have a Discord server, but it's linked to my Patreon. I was a little intimidated by Discord raids and things, so I thought if it was linked to like Patreon support, it would help kind of make it a little more staggered, and I could control who was coming in and who wasn't. That's just a fact of being in fandom and hosting spaces for people to get together and talk. You don't know what strangers on the internet are going to come in and try to ruin everyone's good time, and I was a little gun shy for that. So there is Patreon access that's linked to Discord participation, but I think a public one, I'm not saying never or no, but I think I would like people to help me keep an eye on things just so it's a safe place for people to be polite and, have a good time. But that takes some vigilance and care to make sure that your Discord server is a safe space. What did I have for breakfast? I had toaster pancakes and green tea with honey. Star Hunter, you're a great custom maker, and I've been thinking about asking you to make something one day. I would love it if you did. Your Strasbourg coaches looked fantastic at the event, and we talked about that. So you should check out Star Hunter, everybody. Excellent customs. How did I become the voice of Edward? Can you guys tell me? People asked me to be him, and he's not the character that I see myself as, but it's kind of a compliment. I think one thing that I take from that too is maybe there are times where I've been too passive and I need to go after what I want and speak my truth, because sometimes Edward doesn't do that enough for himself. So even though I think he's a comforting, friendly character that a lot of the engines always feel safe around, I think he needs to stick up for himself more. So even characters we love for their good qualities, we can also learn from their weaknesses to help become better people ourselves. Finding Nemo reference, you love to see it. Star Hunter, heck to the yeah. Heck to the yeah. Did you ever forget stuff at locations? I definitely did. Oh, it was so funny. In P.S. I Hate You, there was a scene where Mike and Frank had a machine gun and they were shooting at dinosaurs. I'm not making that up. And I packed everything up, and then years later, I was walking in that same spot and I found the machine gun crushed in the pathway, and I realized I must have left it behind. So I did leave a Lego machine gun in the middle of a pathway. Let's see. Favorite music artist right now? Favorite music artist right now is most certainly Tennis and Caroline Polachek. I love their music. They're great. Unfortunately, the strangest thing that's happened is I was offered crack near a fishing spot, and I was with people I knew in the fandom, and I said no, But yes, I have been offered drugs. They probably saw me playing with trains and thought I was, laid back. So, the answer was no, and I wish them nothing but the very best in all things, but I would not be able to film on drugs. So you got to be very careful. The gold dust. Yes, if someone offered me gold dust, maybe my answer would be different. So let's see. Yes, I did voice Edward in Thomas 1, Edward 2, Henry 3 videos, a legend in this fandom. I voiced Bertram in the Search for Smudger, some dyslexia happening there. And I also voiced Mike and Frank, I believe. Peter, what are you doing? I'm doing a live stream. Let's see what we got here. Which train film do you like, Matt? It's Dylan. Hey there, Dylan. Dylan, you are everywhere. You pop all over the world at Thomas events. The Titfield Lightning Bolt, or Thunderbolt, sorry, or the Great Locomotive Chase. I have never seen the Great Locomotive Chase, but I've seen the steamroller scene in the Titfield Thunderbolt. So I have to actually sit down and watch those movies. I do enjoy the Titfield Thunderbolt, though. It's funny to see how many Thomas the Tank Engine vehicle equivalents are shown in good form in that film. Oh, the Audrey extravaganza and the Strasbourg Railroad event this past weekend were unforgettable. I had such a great time. They're pretty recent, but, the vibe was top-notch. Would I consider myself a rail fan? I enjoy going to the events, and I enjoy being in the coach and being carried by the steam engine and kind of falling asleep while looking out the window. It's funny. Steam engines are so special. You almost feel like you're being cared for when they're taking you places, more so than NJ Transit and stuff. Although there's some good memories on NJ Transit too, or at least things you could never forget. So a rail fan, I don't think I really count as a rail fan, but I would love to take a trip through Alaska again on one of their scenic trains. I'm a big fan of that. I had the privilege of going on an Alaskan excursion to Denali State Park, or Denali National Park, when I was in 8th grade. I don't know. I have no idea if they ever had. I think the closest is people at Mattel knowing of me. I was almost not allowed to join the Thomas Creator Collective when it started because people at Mattel knew who I was and didn't like that I used Lego in my videos. And I will say kindly that Mattel, I'm glad that you're using Thomas. I'm glad that Thomas, is still out there in the zeitgeist, but Lego is a pretty great toy brand. I love it, and I'm proud to feature both of your IP alongside one another. But originally, it was a deal breaker for me to join the TCC, and the producer of the TCC kind of had to fight to get me on. I didn't know about this till later. I did break the rule, but sometimes I was told I wasn't allowed to use Lego, period. But sometimes the only way to finish the episode was to do that. Ooh, Joey has another question. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to go for another 7 minutes, but then my voice is getting tired. I got to be ready for this weekend. A friend at the recent Strasbourg event defined their meaning of a shining time to me. What would your shining time be? A moment where you truly felt the magic of the series or fandom? I was one of the people that helped organize Vincente 22's Bad Influence premiere at the Hilton Garden Inn in Edison, New Jersey. It was the same venue for the Project Tiger Moth premiere in Edison, New Jersey. And I had the privilege of sitting in the back of the hotel space and watched 50 people, their heads tilted up at not just Vincent's movie, but kind of like the opening acts of some shorter content before the movie began. And everyone was pretty much locked in. They were laughing. They were chattering to each other. There were some mothers there with wine And at first I'm like, oh, these poor women, they're there for their kids and they have to sit through this 2.5 hour fan film for something they don't care about. And then during the climax of Bad Influence, I heard the wine moms gasp when the bridge was collapsing. 2 hours in, these ladies were still invested in the movie. And I just felt this moment where something the fandom had created had brought us all together. We were all sharing in that cathartic storytelling experience. I love when we premiere our videos together. Even at a meetup that was once called Shining Time, once upon a time, we were in a like recreation, not a recreation, but an event center space in like a kitchen. And we were all watching our current projects together. And I love when we share those moments. I love that where we take the time to put our phones down and appreciate what we created for each other. That's my shining time through and through. And I hope that something like that can be created for enterprising engines someday. So that's going to hit me after he hears that. Yeah, Thomas was there. Thomas is a producer on some enterprising engines projects, including Someday and a few other things. And he was there for the Bad Influence premiere, and he remembers the applause that erupted. That was a really good time. And Bad Influence is a great, fantastic fan film. If you haven't seen it, I think it's criminally underviewed for the work and production value that's in it. Please check out Vincente 22's Bad Influence. Okay. Questions still coming through? All right. About 5 minutes I can do. So Milk Tanker Media was present for those early Shining Time meetups in Pennsylvania. I look back at those times and I would like to say that if I could go back, maybe I wouldn't have tweeted that we were doing it because I know that people can feel left out and hurt that they weren't invited. But I also look back and say, we had no idea that it was possible that people could meet up in that capacity then. And it's a big part of my journey when Shining Time was like 3 people, then 5 people, then 17 people, then 30 people. And then COVID hit just as we tried to do something much too ambitious and among other things. But building a layout together in that sweaty conference room together in PA was a core memory. It was sharing that joy with people who understood something that was very special to all of us. And yeah, magic. Miss you, Milk Tanker Media. You're great. Oh, here's Dookie. Yeah, those meetups were a capsule of time. We were so young, less discerning, but there was also so much joy to be found there. And I look fondly at those moments too. They're very special. How often do people run into you shooting, and what was the average reaction like? I have only had a few bad experiences. I have been ticketed for trespassing in a closed park once with Tyne Senseth, and that was filming for the TCC. It was like $25. You know, we were fine. People are usually curious. Some people have conversations with me. I was in upstate New York last summer and a woman talked to me for 20 minutes. She was so interested. And then 2 hours later, she came back with a lunch for me. So there can be some really nice people. There was only one time where I felt like I was in danger. And I'm only saying this because I do love filming outside and I'm supportive of the method. But if you can go with a friend or a parent, I would highly recommend that. There was only 1 or 2 instances where someone I had run into made me feel unsafe. But I've been very blessed to say that it's happened hundreds of times. And the best thing that usually happens is you have a nice conversation or give out a business card. Let's see. One time, have I ever been recognized in public? I was at an Applebee's with a Thomas fan, and they said that a random kid looked at me like, and they thought I had been recognized, but I didn't see it happen. So I might have been recognized in an Applebee's, but I don't know. an unforgettable luncheon. And Aurora Borealis is something that I've always wanted to see. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was me. The big Proteus is a giveaway, most certainly. All right, guys, I just want to thank everyone that tuned in for this test stream. I'm glad to see that you could hear me. I hope to have things be a little more polished and organized for the weekend stream. I think it will be sometime after 1 p.m. EST. That's what I know for now. But everybody, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad that this test went well. And thank you for watching. Please join us on Saturday, August 1st for the full stream. Sometime after 1 p.m. EST, there's going to be some guests coming in. Thank you so much for your questions and everything. You've been so kind. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.